the time, it felt like an ordinary day, until the point where I drove him to the pre-match, warm-up. He said to me, "What happens if it happens again?" At one point, he went to head the ball, but didn't jump high enough. And I can remember saying to you, golly, he's going to have to do a bit better than this if they've put him, he's going to be disappointed with this. And then he just collapsed. And I ran.
3 years ago, my friend Dylan had a cardiac arrest during a football match and couldn't be saved. My name's James, and I'm on a journey to discover how sport and society could help reduce sudden death from cardiac arrest in the UK. We start in Exeter, meeting the CEO of Jay Osborne, a charity that teaches CPR and has placed hundreds of defibrillators around the southwest of England.
Our training is quite unique in the fact that everybody uses their own CPR mannequin, so kids are quite self-conscious and they worry a lot what their peers think. With everybody using their own mannequin, it makes quite a big difference because it means that they are just kind of dialed into what they're doing and not necessarily worried about what their mates think. So that makes quite a big difference. We also make sure our training fits to like an hour long, so it fits with a school timetable. So often, for instance, if we're in a school, we'll do like 5 sessions in one day, and they'll be like back to back. And like I say, we'll be quite flexible with the school's timetable, so fit with the normal break times, things like that.
Dan believes the way Jay's aim teach CPR helps break down the barriers that a typical session couldn't.
You feel quite self-conscious even as an adult, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'll have a quick go. And you might do 4 or 5 compressions, but you're not really concentrating on technique and so on, and it's maybe not the best quality CPR, and you're like, oh, yeah, I'll move on now, yeah, I can do that. Whereas hopefully our training, like I say, they have a lot more time actually physically working on a mannequin, and hopefully that enables them to at least experience and have a good go at trying to get the technique correct, because it is important, like anything, it's like sport. If you don't get the technique correct, then you're not going to be as successful in terms of the outcomes, which in this case is saving somebody's life.
2 hours drive from Exeter is Swindon Town, now the home of footballer Nnamdi Ofoborh. He's played for Bournemouth and Rangers, but his life was saved. Nnamdi plays with an internal defibrillator fitted, similarly to Christian Eriksen, following his cardiac arrest at Euro 2021. Eriksen's collapse came just weeks after Nnamdi reported having heart palpitations during a training session.
After I've seen what's happening, the panic and obviously all the everything that happened around it, obviously it was a tough moment for me, maybe because I can relate to it a little bit more. It also made me a little bit nervous to say, maybe I can't play again, maybe this is it for me. That was tough to live with and come to terms with, to see that, one, on the plus side, it's like, okay, you're not alone in this, but at the same time, this is not a situation where you want to be. Sports is so powerful, and just that happening to someone who could be someone's superhero, or they could be his biggest fan, will bring light to the situation.
Whilst helping people in trouble is important, another way to combat cardiac arrest is to get to the root of the problem. Cardiac Risk in the Young is an organisation that produces world-leading research into cardiac screening and performs public screening sessions for people.
What is AI going to do to reading ECGs? And if we take the high level of expertise we have and we're able to bring that into an AI algorithm, which is the aim, then screening will become much more widespread, much more routine, and not so dependent as we are now on specialist doctors who are very expensive to train, expensive to recruit. It's just so much more we need to do in this area. And one of the points we're pushing with government is, when you understand the value of a young life, properly understand that, financially, economically, that figure is a very high figure, and actually it does not equate with 600 young sudden deaths every year. The investment to prevent those deaths is nowhere near there. And that's the campaigning work we're doing, is trying to highlight that and to publish that work, which enables us to campaign with government on that level.
The UK government have taken positive first steps to try and tackle the issue by making CPR training mandatory in the education system since 2020. This has been done in many countries before, such as Norway, whose cardiac arrest survival rates are much higher than ours at the moment. However, in Norway, they also tie CPR training to the driver's licence, so any person in Norway or countries like Austria, Croatia, Hungary, Denmark and many others in Europe will know how to do CPR if they are on the road. In a country like Lithuania, this is done once every 5 years for drivers to keep them refreshed. So, what more can the UK do? Can we copy these countries, or can we make some legislation of our own that is different?
I do think screenings personally should be on the NHS, so that everybody has that screening take place, between the ages of 14 and 18 years old. I think that would make a massive difference. We've done quite a lot of work with cardiologists, and I know there's a mixed feeling on that, because sometimes things can get picked up when they're actually not necessarily problems, and then people change their lifestyle and their life because of that, to find out that actually it was like a false positive, so to speak. But I'd like to see that happen.
In Italy, there's been a mandatory screening program for anyone involved in sport. So if you're playing football for your local club, you're not planning to be a professional, but you go out there every Saturday and you're training during the week, you would have a screening done, a part of that. So Italy is definitely ahead of the ball game in the way in which they brought screening in.
You see, like you said, something about the Danish people and everyone knowing how to do CPR. I think stuff like that, there's no harm in learning stuff like that. It can only better the community, it can only better the world. So I think we have to do a better job as people, as a collective, to be there for one another.
This journey has taught me that not all news on cardiac arrest is negative, but a lot more still has to be done across wider society, so people don't have to suffer the loss of someone like Dylan.
I have a very strong sense that I'll never be happy again. That just seems a word that can't be used.
This has sort of brought back lots of those positive memories, and hearing other people talk about him's really good. So, still finding our way, I think.